Hello, everyone. It's Mark Wilkinson here. It's Fearless Friday, live at 5 here in the UK, Greenwich Mean Time, GMT. Welcome along. Every Friday, I come online at 5 p.m. Just to have a chat with some interesting people and share some of the latest things that have kind of popped into my mind that I think are worth sharing. A little story from last Friday. We were talking about decision and we were talking about vision and we were talking about getting things done. And on the Saturday morning, I got a message from a friend who told me that he'd been beaten by this hill on his bicycle for many months. It had beaten him. He hadn't got up there. So he visioned himself getting to the top of the hill on his bicycle. On Saturday morning, he was at the top of the hill saying, "I've done it." And he sent me a little video and everything. It was brilliant. And we had a chat and he bought a copy of Life Remixed as well. So that was great. So yeah, it was a really good vibe off of last Friday's live at 5, Fearless Friday. So this week, I'm absolutely honoured to be joined by another fellow author from Hasmark Publishing, Dr. Joanette. She's got some fascinating insights for us about her whole series of children's books that she's been writing. And obviously, being a doctor, she's had some interesting experiences in the last 12 months around COVID. So I'm going to check in with her about that and her experience in and around New York City. And we're going to find out a bit more about her and her experiences and obviously what she's got to share in her books. So without further ado, let's bring Dr. Joanette in. Here she is. Hello. Hi, how are you?
Hello. I'm so excited to be here. This is awesome and amazing. And thank you.
So, all right, it's a pleasure to have you here. Thanks for joining us. I really appreciate it. So introduce yourself. Tell us a bit. I did the little intro there, but tell us a bit more about yourself and what you're doing.
I am Dr. Joanette, and I have several hats. I have the hat of doctor, which is I'm an ER doctor just outside of New York City in a urban emergency room. I am also the best-selling author of a series of children's books called the Giggles in My Heart series of children's books, where I write about and help kids identify emotions that they are dealing with, emotions especially that are key now, which is fear, anxiety, other emotions like jealousy or disappointment. Things didn't happen that they wanted to happen, that birthday party. So I write books in a fun, rhyming way for the kids to teach them how to identify what they're feeling and how to take those feelings and turn them into something positive to make changes in their lives so that they feel better and that they have a better life for themselves. So that's kind of the premise of my books.
Yeah. So you've been obviously, some people have been furloughed and not been doing much for the last 12 months. I'd say you've probably had about the opposite experience because you've been at the sharp end in the emergency room dealing with COVID patients up close and personal, right? And helping people as best you can, obviously, in that situation.
Absolutely. Yes. In the beginning, so little was known about COVID. Very little was known how to treat COVID. And as frontline emergency on the ground workers, we learned on the job, basically. And for someone who's been an ER doctor for 20 plus years, learning on the job is a humbling experience, to say the least, because as time went on, we ended up throwing out a lot of the things that we knew. We realized that putting people on vents wasn't necessarily the best thing, but it was our training at the time. And so it's what we did to try to save lives. The other thing was that probably was one of the biggest challenge for my staff and myself was that there was so much fear surrounding COVID and so little was known about it that the decision was made to basically shut the hospitals to everybody but the staff and the patients. So we were the patient's caregivers, we were the patient's support system, we were the patient's liaison between them and their loved ones. And when it came to say that final goodbye, way too often, way more than we would have liked, we were that connection between them and their loved ones during that time because their loved ones weren't allowed to come to the hospital.
I can see the emotion. It must be
Yeah.
really, it must have been really challenging to have to face that. So I think we all feel for you, of course, and we appreciate your
Thanks.
good work. We appreciate
Yeah.
your good work, and thank you for sharing, because I
Yeah.
know the series of books that came out of it, which, to be honest, as you shared with me before, is really prolific. I mean, there's essentially 3 books out, 4 more written, and 3 more coming after. That's 10 books, and that's in 12 months. And if that doesn't inspire some of my listeners and some of my clients here that are trying to write books and trying to get things done, and I don't know what will. But the actual, giggles in my heart and the whole kind of piece about it came from your granddaughter saying to you, "Am I going to? What do they call you, Doctor? Do they call you Dr. Granny or
Dr.
something?"
Grammy, they call me.
Oh, yeah, and am I going to die of COVID? Was the question, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was we were discussing right at the very beginning. We were talking about it, and she picked up on the adult's fear and concern, and she turned and looked at me and said, "Am I going to die, Dr. Grammy?" And that was just that was a tough one for me, no two ways about it, because I really didn't know how to answer her, because I didn't know enough about it. And of course, as adults, we want to shield our children and our grandchildren from the pain of loss and the pain of worry. And so I thought about it, and I wrote a book about it. And what I did was I wrote a book for her to help her identify what she was feeling, why she was feeling it, and give her some ways where she didn't have to be worried for her Dr. Grammy. She didn't have to be afraid of COVID. And that book was the beginning of and the inspiration for a whole nother 9 books that are coming into the series.
It's amazing work. I mean, a full-time job in a pandemic, in a crisis, going through what you've been through work-wise there as well, and still managing to develop a series of books. I think you need a big round of applause for that one.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, we touched on a couple of things before you came onto air. I mean, some of the teachings that are in the book. Do you want to give us a few sort of pointers of what you're teaching to the kids?
So what I teach to the kids is kids have a series of kids feel their emotions, and they sometimes have. My books are really targeted for the preschool age to early grade school age, and young kids have a hard time identifying what they're feeling. They feel emotions very strongly, both negative and positive emotions, and they have a hard time identifying them and quantifying them and understanding them. So my books try to teach them how to identify those emotions and understand them and how they affect their behaviors. Nice. So I wrote this one about fear, but the other things that kids really struggle with is gratitude is another one. And I called it The Magic of Thank You. And the book is basically a book. I'm going to just pull up
because it's all written in rhyme, isn't it? You said it's all written.
Yes, it's all written. My books are all written in rhyme. Yes. So it's called The Magical Word. And in it, I say, thank you is more than a word to say. Thank you is how you should feel every day. If you are thankful all day long, in your heart, you will have a song. Nice. And in this book, the main character is a magical, rare blue unicorn whose name is Thank You. And in the land where he comes from, which is the other side of my portal here, the land of the unicorns, in that land, they teach the unicorns how to say thank you. And in that land, when they teach the unicorns how to say thank you, they teach them that, I'm just looking here, is that thank you is the way they tell each other, in my heart, you are my sister or brother. When a thank you is said to others with love, it will bring light from above. Thank you. When saying thank you is taught, little unicorns know it is more than just a thought. Thank you is more than a thought in their head. It must be felt in their heart before it is said.
Nice. I mean, I was saying to you earlier as well, I think one of the things that with children is I was taught just to say thank you for everything. And, you know, when someone gave me something, I just said thank you. But you don't really understand it, you know, unless it's kind of really sort of like cultivated within you about, you know, just to be grateful for the next heartbeat, the next breath, the next, you know, the next moment. And I think if you can learn that, and I've had to learn it the hard way myself with obviously the whole life remix thing. I've had to learn it the hard way in order to come out the other side and then, you know, be really grateful for every moment of life. So I think it's wonderful that you can teach, you know, and when you say the age groups, I think you're talking probably about 3 years old to about 8 years old. Is that something like
Yes.
that? Yeah, brilliant. Okay. And you've got how many grandchildren?
I have 5 grandchildren.
Wow, amazing. Okay, and they're all obviously like, you know, enjoying the books, enjoying the series, and picking up on that. So you can test it out on them before it even gets to the marketplace, right? Which is good.
Well, they sometimes get sneak peeks about it of Grammy's books. So.
And you said you were getting some positive messages from people that are already starting to read these books from their children.
Yeah, you know, some of the adults that have read these books to their children say, you know, I really connected with that book and it taught me some important lessons as well. And I had one dad actually that wrote me and said, you know, my wife died not that long ago, and my daughter was afraid to go to bed and afraid to go to sleep. And I got your book and I read it to her. And that was the first night she stayed in bed all night long and didn't get up crying in the night. And after that, he said, I read her the book every night before she goes to bed, and she won't sleep without your book. Wow. So that was really heartwarming to me.
It's the power of the stories, isn't it? It's like it's a story that if you read something that you resonate with, even as an adult, if you read that story and it can sort of help you become a bit more peaceful or a bit more at ease or learn something more about yourself or do something like slightly different, then it can really help, right? So, but
absolutely.
But let's talk a little bit about persistence as well, because that's something that I know I wanted to touch on today as well. From my own experience with Life Remixed being released in the last couple of weeks. You know, the book's now out. We've worked very, very hard and done a lot of work to get it, you know, to where it is with the Marcy Shimoff and the Bob Proctor and the Peggy McColl and the Judy O'Byrne, all these wonderful endorsements that we've had on the self-development level. And then there was little bit of a lull for a few days. I don't know how you felt when your book was released or your first, but for us, it was kind of like, oh, you know, take your foot off the gas for a couple of days and just kind of, you know, recharge a little bit. But persistence, and the persistence from you is that you're showing to be able to write 10 books. I mean, how does persistence fit with you, and how are you fitting all these hours in the day?
Yeah. You know, it kind of just happens. I'm one of these people that just goes with the flow. And if something doesn't happen one day, I know there'll be time in the next day. So it works for me. I don't get stressed out about if something didn't get done, if something didn't happen on the time schedule I wanted it to happen. My first book I had planned to release in September. And then it actually didn't get released until almost the middle of October. By that time, I'd written my second and third book. And so they were ready to be released because my schedule was originally September, October, November, right before the Christmas season. And things didn't work out that way. So I released the first one in October, and the other two I released together on Cyber Monday. Yeah. So
can I ask you a question about that though? Have you always been that way, or have you had to learn to be that way about not being sort of stressed? Things will just happen when they happen. Have you always been that way since you were a child, or is it something that you've developed over time?
I think growing up in a family of 10 kids teaches you patience and teaches you persistence.
What number were you? What number were you?
I was dab smack in the middle.
Oh, yeah. So you weren't at the back of the queue having to wait to number 10, but no, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
okay.
I had, there was,
You learned
go ahead.
patience. Yeah, you learned patience and persistence from a young age then. So you've had that the whole way through your life, you would say.
Pretty much. I mean, all children, there's a level of impatience in them because that's one of the things we learn as we grow. I think being in such a big family, I had those opportunities and those lessons probably earlier than a lot of kids. And I learned how to be persistent without losing my cool. And I learned that persistence, there's two ways to be persistent. One is to be obnoxiously persistent, which usually gets you your way, but not necessarily in a good or endearing way. And the other way is to be patiently persistent and persist with kindness, with caring, with a way that makes people want to help you, want to do things for you, and makes them glad to be in your life and a part of your life. And I discovered fairly early on, fortunately, and much credit to both my mom and my dad, that is a much better way. That is a much better path of persistence than the obnoxious persistence that sometimes we see.
And talking about persistent and very patient and effective people, Jenna is saying good afternoon to us both.
Hey, Jenna.
Thanks for watching, Jenna. Thanks for being all you are on the project management front. You do a great job. So yeah, as far as persistence goes, yeah, obviously I read a lot from Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. It's a fabulous book. There's an entire chapter on it. There's an entire chapter on persistence, and some of the things that are in here are so important. It's just I love quotes from the book. One of my favorites is every failure brings with it the seed of an equivalent success. And if you can actually get that into your mind at an early age, which sounds like you may have been trained that way, but I wasn't really. That's it was, there's nothing to fear, is there? And if you can teach children that there's nothing, that fear has a reason, because it's there to protect us. But if we let it just run wild and it goes too far down the track, then that fear can take us down. And I think that's something that, some of the things you said, so in your books, you're dealing with fear, anger, disappointment, jealousy, and some of, all those kind of negatives for children and helping them. But then you're also talking about gratitude and acts of service and things like that as well. So you've got more positive messages in there as well, right?
Right. And, gratitude, but also it's a kindness. I wrote a book on kindness. There's a pink unicorn called Kindness that teaches how to give, how to be kind, and how to find ways to be kind, and what are some ideas for kids that they can things they can do to change their, so that characters in the book on this one, they're bored and they don't know what to do because they can't go outside and it's raining, and the magical unicorn Kindness comes to them and says, I'm going to teach you how to turn that big old pout and frown of yours upside down. And so she gives them a whole lesson in how to be kind and how to help others. And by the end of the story, they're like so excited, making kindness cookies for the neighbor across the street, that they completely forget about the unicorn. And the next thing they know, she's gone, but they just had a fabulous day because they forgot to be bored and spent their day thinking up ways that they could be kind and they could have and share their kindness with others.
It sounds like there's quite a bit of good information in here for adults as well, right?
I think so.
Yeah, because a lot of these things that we sort of forget sometimes as we grow up. I think children, with my experience of my niece and nephew and stuff like that, they latch onto this stuff very quickly. One of my friends has written a book called Hank the Hungry Monster, and it's about dealing with OCD and children's OCD and anxiety and stuff like that. and it's a great little book. And we showed her the whole kind of piece with Hank the Hungry Monster, and she totally just bought into it and just went, yeah, get out of my head, stop, and it was beautiful to watch, because it was something that one of my friends had done, and it worked, and it was like, and my little niece, she just got it straight away. When I see that, it was a Sunday afternoon, it was just really heartwarming. It was like, wow, there's actually, this stuff does work, and children can grasp it so much quicker. I spend hours coaching adults about how to be persistent, make decisions, overcome their fears, and do this. And sometimes with particularly with the children's age of the books you're talking about, 3 to 8 years old, they can just go, yeah, all right, yeah, right, what's next? What's next? What am I going to do?
That's the big deal here.
Yeah, exactly right. But I love it because they are little balls of emotion, and they pick up so much on vibration, don't they? Children have picked up on vibration from subconscious programming from a very early age.
Right.
I'm fascinated by a lot of the teachings of Bob Proctor and Marcy Shimoff of The Secret and stuff like that. What's inspired you? Well, I mean, obviously being a doctor, being in the ER, but obviously you see life and death a lot of the time, and then of course you've got this wonderful family and 5 grandchildren and everything else. But what's actually inspired you to make this step, forward, and then obviously end up with Hasmark Publishing and everything else that's gone with that? What's been your journey or your steps to get there?
Oh, that's a great question. Right now, if you look at my life, I have an amazing life, but it hasn't always been amazing. I've been homeless. I've been penniless. I've had nearly lost my life at one point. So I've had my share of disappointments, of challenges, of I've been clear down to the bottom, kind of like you, Mark.
Yeah.
And so for me to be able to tap into that bigger part of us, that inner strength that we came into this world with another piece of us that is, some people call it the soul, some people call it their inner being, some people call it the divine, whatever you call it, it's that part within you that leads you and guides you. So for me, my inspiration is the bigger part of me, the divine within me, my source, my energy that has always been there. And even when I was at the very bottom, when I was, didn't know where to turn, the only place left for me to turn was to that part of me. And that's what got me through. That's what has inspired me. And that's really what has continued to come through me and has made me want to be a better person, want to help others, want to teach children a better way to deal with their emotions. And my vision is to continue to write these books and to grow Heart's Light and teach not only kids but adults a better way to live, a better way to look at things, a better way to feel, and to tap into the power within them to make a change, not only in their own lives but in the lives of others.
So that's your website, right? Heart's Light.
Heart's Light.
.com.
.com. Yeah.
Yeah. So if anyone's interested and they would like to find out more about Dr. Joanette, go to heartslight.com. That's HARTS. I've got that right?
Yeah. ALIGHT.
Yeah, okay, Heart's Light. Yeah, there you go. I appreciate it. Yeah, I see it now. Okay, yeah. I decided to wear my UK flag today, but you can't.
Yeah.
Someone on Facebook has said remarkable, both of you. So that's very nice.
Oh, thank you. And I have a website for kids as well called heartslightkids.com.
Brilliant.
And I have a kids corner or I have a kids section on it. I do crafts for kids. I do cooking classes for kids, and I have a story time where I invite authors to join me and share their books. And I try to choose books, or I choose authors and books that are aligned with the philosophy and the principles that I want to teach. How to be a better person. One of my authors wrote a book, The Best of Me. And another one that you may know wrote My Secret Powers of the Universe. And another one wrote It's Brave to Cry. So those types of books. And I think if you're, if the parents are looking for a little break twice a week, it's at 3:00 in the afternoon on YouTube. And you can meet an author, learn a little bit about their journey, and let your kids get entertained by the books. And I have at the beginning of each of my videos, couple of my main characters join me. This is Shay. And my other main character is Giver.
I feel like I'm in a kids' TV program.
Yeah. And they interact on the show and they talk to the kids, and so they do a little promo at the beginning and a little closing at the end, and remind the kids to what the lessons are within the books. And my grandkids and the kids, I think they like the puppets better than they like grandma here.
Well, the puppets are all part of the show, right? Maria's saying hi, Jeanette. Hi, Mark. Well, what an inspiring conversation. Brilliant. Thank you, Maria. That's amazing. I was going to say, obviously, Life Remixed should probably have at least a 15, if not an 18 certificate on it, because there was some poor behaviour and poor choices that I made as a grown-up in the book, right? So that's probably not one to read to the kids. But what I would say, one of the things that I am doing at the moment as well, we've got this tool that we call e-colours, where we actually, it's just like a self-awareness tool. And it's for children sort of 7 to, well, it's for adults, but there's a children's part to it, children 7 to 12 and above and stuff like that. And it's fascinating. And we're looking to work with some schools and troubled teenagers and all that kind of stuff as well. So we're on a bit of a mission over here as well in the UK, using all the tools that we've got open to us with Life Remixed, with e-colours, and all the other coaching and everything else that we do here as well. Yeah, I mean, the bits that have jumped out at me, and obviously we'll start to wind it up in a couple of minutes, but the bits that have jumped out at me are the bits that, what you're doing here is you're helping people to change their state. You're helping people to change their state, the children, but also the parents, by the sounds of it as well, that can actually learn something just by reading a story to a child. It can actually I've got a big belief that children teach us just as much as we teach them, right? And obviously that part of you're talking about, for me, I would call it spirit or energy. But as you say, it could be called any of those other things. But we've got this part that many of us don't really investigate that much. We just think we're a mind and a body, when actually there's so much more to us as human beings. And I love that. And my last question for you really today, Jeanette, is so what's next? I mean, hopefully soon, I'm not sure what the vaccination program is doing in the States, but here it's going on rapidly, and there's a real hope and belief that by June that everything will be unrestricted again in this country, and then obviously we'll have to see about international travel after that. But who knows? We don't know. So what's your take on it at the moment over there?
So we're doing very well with the vaccination program. We are now vaccinating the young adults and starting some clinical trials on vaccinations for children. So pretty much all of the adults, probably 50 and above, have been vaccinated, or that want to get vaccinated have been. Many of the adults in the 18 to 50 age group are vaccinated and getting vaccinated. And the last group, of course, will be the children.
Okay, so there's a real sort of feel there in the States that things will start to get back to some sort of normality.
Yes, absolutely, there is. Yeah.
Okay.
And some of the states have completely opened back up with pretty much very little restrictions. Some of the more southern states where you can go outside and eat outside and be primarily outside. When you participate in activities and things like that, they're open. And some of the more northern states where it's colder and more difficult are a little more, a little behind that. But as everybody gets vaccinated, I see probably by the end of May, early June, we'll be will be, all of the adults will be vaccinated, and by the end of the summer, the children will be vaccinated, and everybody can go back to school and do all the things that they love to do and have missed.
That's been the hardest thing. I mean, I know there's been people dying, and I feel for anybody obviously who's been affected by this in that way. For the rest of us, you know, the reasonably healthy people that are on the outside, the hardest thing has been the loss of all the things that we, you know, we sort of used to take for granted, like, you know, eating out in restaurants, going on holidays, meeting up with friends and family, and, you know, and now, you know, with that taken away, I think, you know, 2020, 21, you know, has been an opportunity to be grateful for the things that you have got, and then hopefully get back to our big mission and goals, you know, afterwards. So no, that's good to hear. And then what's next for you personally? What's the next things you're looking to achieve?
So I am a huge believer in the unknown. I love the unknown. I don't know what's next for me, but I know it's going to be amazing. I know it's going to be wonderful, and I'm going to have a blast doing whatever it is, and I will love every minute of it.
That's awesome. I love it. What a great reply. What a great reply. And what a great way to end the interview as well. So I want to say thank you very much for being here today, Joanette. It's been lovely to meet you.
Thank you.
Dr. Grammy, you know, it's absolutely lovely, and really cool what you're doing, and inspirational to do 10 children's books in a year while still working in an emergency room and everything else. I think there's a lot to learn there. There's a lot of people that can understand and learn a lot from you just by your joy, you know, allowing yourself to, you know, feel your emotions as well, and sharing that kind of stuff with children and your grandchildren. So I want to say big love to you, and thank you for being a part of the stream this afternoon. Thanks to everyone from Hasmark and all the other pages that we're streaming on for watching. You stay where you are, please, Joan, and I'll stop the broadcast, but we'll say goodbye to everyone now. Yeah.
And so
we'll say goodbye to everyone. We'll let them go.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go. We'll let them go, and then we'll you stay where you are, and then we'll catch up. So thanks very much all for watching. If you want to watch this back, please do, and look out for Giggles in My Heart and all the books that Dr. Joanette's got out there. And go to the website again, was
heartslight.com.
heartslight.com. Make sure you go and check it out right now. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks, guys. And thank you, Mark. I appreciate it.